Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective Podcast.
Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective. I'm Mark Billingsley, Chairman of the Board of the Shelby County Commission. Today is going to be a great show. We're going to do a year in review. We've had a lot going on in 2019 in Shelby County, Tennessee. We're going to have a great co-host on today, Daryl Catron, a great friend of mine, and we'll be right back on the Chairman's Perspective.
Jazz, America's own original musical art form. When did it start? Who were and are some of the major players? How do you distinguish what kind of jazz you're listening to? We talk about the great and lesser-known artists, songs and tunes, the instruments, and the social impact jazz has had on world culture since its beginning at the start of the 20th century.
Riffin' on jazz on the KUDZUKIAN Network. KUDZUKIAN!
We're back on the Chairman's Perspective. I'm Mark Billingsley, Chairman of the Board of the Shelby County Commission in Shelby County, Tennessee. Today, we're going to have a great review of 2019. As we look back on the past, we've had a lot of issues in Shelby County government, as well as looking forward to 2020 in Shelby County. Today, I'm here with my great friend, Daryl Catron, who's going to be co-hosting today with me. Welcome aboard, Daryl.
Let me tell you something. Mr. Chairman, when this show started with you, we were like, oh boy, we're going to have a lot of fun. And so far, you've not let us down. You even loaned us Commissioner Mills to come in. I think she had a little fun with us here at KUDZUKIAN. And,
yes.
And we look forward to, I'd like to flip the script a little bit with you. I mean,
Great.
You're normally the one who sits in the captain, and you'll be in the captain's chair.
Sure.
But I'd like to throw a couple of quick things at you. 2019 was, and you went through it. You are number one. You're the longest serving or the most tenured commissioner right now on the board. Is that not correct?
Most tenured commissioner. I was very fortunate to fulfill the seat of Wyatt Bunker, who was a commissioner.
Oh, wow.
He became a mayor in Lakeland, and I was appointed. Had a year on the commission as an appointee with a lot of commissioners on there. There was Mike Ritz back there in the day, Henry Brooks. There
the
was
old team back there, yeah.
And so this is actually my third commission. So I was on with a number of elected officials
Sure.
on that body, and then I was elected and then reelected. So this is really almost my third group of leaders to work with, and I feel very, very fortunate to serve as chairman this year.
Now, before we get into 19, and we want to keep the show focused on
Sure.
Shelby County, but I think our listeners really need to know a lot more. Some folks know you because,
Sure.
number one, this isn't your first rodeo. Shelby County, you served actually as an alderman in Germantown. Am I right?
I did. I was very lucky. I've always done, Daryl, I've always done community service.
Yeah.
Did community service as a kid here in Memphis, and then wanted to do more things from a public service perspective. So I started serving on some committees in Germantown and some other committees here in Memphis. And so I did that. And then I had a wild hair for a couple of years to be a volunteer policeman.
Oh, wow.
And I did that, really enjoyed it in the city of Germantown. It's different when you're a reserve police officer to ride side by side with full-time officers. It gives you a great perspective, and you get to do a lot of really good things. So I did that, and then shortly after that, a number of people said, you need to run for the city council in Germantown, and I did that, and enjoyed 4 years with the Germantown City Council. I was an alderman, and then had the great privilege of being appointed as a commissioner, and then elected, and then reelected, and I've been really blessed.
Well, now, of course, you're a single district commissioner, so I want people to remember you are actually a commissioner of a district.
I am.
Right? But you serve as also that umbrella for the entire commission, being the chair as well, too. So
Right.
A little bit of the difference between being an alderman and now a commissioner with, I'm assuming, hundreds of millions of dollars more of responsibility, no doubt, right?
Well, it's just a little bit different. They're both equally important. When I was an alderman in the city of Germantown, we had 40,000 residents in the city of Germantown.
Wow. Is that big?
Oh, yeah, 40,000 residents, and lots of really good things, but aldermen get to spend a lot of time working on the day-to-day issues in the city, and which was really a blessing. I literally did everything from going to catch dogs to being sure the trash was picked up. I made house calls. But then as a county commissioner, again, your constituent base grows. In my district of District 4, which includes South Cordova, Germantown, South Winnowindike, it's about 72,000 people. And so each commissioner has single-man districts. We come typically from certain areas. We have a commissioner that's over Bartlett, a commissioner who's over Germantown. We have a number of commissioners from the city of Memphis, but it's 13 great people. And just as a reminder, you're listening to the Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network. I'm here with my good friend Daryl Catron, and we are talking everything Shelby County. But
mostly I want to lay out this scene because I want people to know who their chairman is and kind of where you've come from. Because, as I said before, you're not new to this. This is not a new horse you're riding here. But another thing, when you come to the commission and some work that you all did. Especially, I think, in terms of how you all met and this education piece. Pre-K was on your radar.
It was.
And I think Shelby County government, in terms of the commission, took the lead and really kind of pushed this ball across the line.
We did. I really give it a lot of credit to our education chairman, Michael Whaley, who really led the charge.
He's a super guy.
Great guy. Very critical in Shelby County in the education space. He does that full time. And Commissioner Michael Whaley and I partnered on pre-K. We joined with other commissioners. A lot of discussion around pre-K. And for me, Daryl, it's about, do you want to invest on the front end or you want to invest on the back end?
Yeah.
We've got too many kids in Shelby County that that are not at even the third grade reading level. And so if you don't make the investment as early as you possibly can, the obstacles to being successful are pretty deep. And so I think the commission was pretty much resounding. All 13 commissioners were around pre-K. We've had lots of people recognize that effort. We need to continue to put more and more money into pre-K. We've made a multi-year commitment to pre-K, and I believe, quite frankly, Daryl, it'll be a game changer for Shelby County.
Well, what about those folks, those naysayers out there? They say, "Hey, Chairman, you're representing Germantown, you're representing South Cordova and Windike, and those are typically pretty when it comes to a style of living, is a little bit better than what we would consider in some of the underserved communities in the city of Memphis inside the 240 loop." So how is it that we get folks to really rally, people in Germantown, and say it matters. It really matters that pre-K, it may not affect us out here, but if we don't help in some small way.
Well, for a lot of us that have been given a whole lot, I think we have a great responsibility to give back. Most of my neighbors in Germantown and the people I represent in South Cordova and Southwind, they realize the benefits that they have. We still have challenges in those areas, but also I think most people in this community value education. They do see it as a game changer. I'm a vice president at Christian Brothers University. We graduate lots of kids that are first generation students that are graduating from college for the first time, first student in their family to graduate, and to go from very meager means to actually graduating, getting a job. Wow. It's a life changer. And so I think our investment in pre-K, if you want to look at it in just economic terms, you can look at that in that, do you want someone to be successful? Do you want them to have a job? Do you want them to have a quality of life? Or do you not want to make the investment? And you can invest in other things. We put millions of dollars into incarceration. We put millions of dollars into public safety and loss of life. Or do you want to do the positive thing and invest on the front end? And so I'd have to believe that our citizens want to invest and do the right thing.
Well, you know what, Mr. Chairman, I know we got to get a break here, and I know you want to get out of this segment and get in another one. But one thing I want people to understand about you is that you're committed. You've been around this place for a good bit. Even though you represent Germantown, the Windike area in South Cordova, you're a man about the town.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Man about the town. We'll be right back with more of the Chairman's Perspective with your chairman, Mark Billingsley, right here on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Hey, I'm Williams Brack, co-host of Grind Set. The insight you gain from us and our guests will motivate you to take the leap into entrepreneurship. Make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast provider.
Grind Set on the KUDZUKIAN Network. KUDZUKIAN!
We are back on the Chairman's Perspective. I'm Mark Billingsley, Chairman of the Shelby County Board of Commissioners in Shelby County, Tennessee. We're doing our year in review of 2019 as we look back on the past of 2019 in Shelby County government, and we look forward to 2020. I'm here with my really good friend, Daryl Catron, and we're talking issues today.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, normally you're the one that's dishing out the questions, but I think the listeners really want to know your perspective. That's why it's called the Chairman's Perspective.
Thank you.
And for you to be able to talk to the citizens at large and say, hey, look, this is why we did it. It may not have made sense to you then, but if you stick with us,
right?
Sausage is really ugly being made, but in the end, it tastes pretty good. As a matter of fact, I get something in the morning, but it's going to be good in the end. One thing I know that you all had a real heavy budget cycle here this past 1920, and that is on public safety. Really talking about how do we help address some of these things that are occurring in our communities from the river on out to the Fayette County line? How do we help our citizens feel safe? And one of those pieces was, I think the new de-annexation piece, right, and the sheriff's asking for more officers.
That's exactly right. Well, Daryl, on December 30th of 2020, we're months away from it. December 31st of 2020, South Cordova, Southwind, and Windike will go from being the city of Memphis back to Shelby County. And so right now, Daryl, those areas are patrolled by Memphis police officers. They're also protected by Memphis Fire. At midnight on December 31st of this year, we will actually flip over. The Shelby County Sheriff's Department will take over, and the Shelby County Fire Department will take over.
Wow.
So our good sheriff, Floyd Bonner, a great friend and a tremendous public servant.
And he's been on the show before, too.
He's been on the show over 40 years of law enforcement experience. He's asked the Shelby County Commission, appropriately so, for 40 to 50 deputies to patrol that new area.
Sure.
That is going to cost between $7.1 million, as low as maybe $5.5 million. It's a major investment. It's something that we have to do. It's going to happen one way or the other. On midnight of December 31st, we got to have boots on the ground and firefighters ready and deputies ready. So it's going to be a major expenditure, but we've got a great sheriff. I think he's up to the task. The toughest problem we have, Daryl, as you know, we've talked on other shows, is being able to recruit deputies. For Mike Rawlings to be able to recruit police officers. I think the public and the media has done such a very tough job of really degrading what law enforcement is about. It's funny how a lot of people put down law enforcement, but yet when you need somebody, who do you call?
You better call them.
You do call them.
Exactly.
But, I do understand parts of it. There's distrust in certain parts of our community. Yeah. We've got to do a better job of connecting law enforcement with the community. We got some amazing community advocates out there like Stevie Moore. I was just with Stevie Moore yesterday.
FUN, FUN, I think is this group he runs.
Yeah, he's a great guy, lost a family member.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's a great leader and Stop the Violence. But I was with Stevie yesterday and we were talking about, I was with some pastors also. We've got to be able to rebuild some broken relationships between some parts of our community that do not trust law enforcement, because quite frankly, this past weekend during the weekend that we celebrated Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
We lost 3 children in our community. And just earlier today, I released a press release calling for on Sunday, we are going to have a moment of silence in Shelby County to remember those 3 kids. The Memphis City Council came up with that initiative, and our commissioners and myself believed that was a great idea. So we're joining with the Memphis City Council to remember those children. But those 3 children, we've lost them. I believe they're at God's feet today. Yeah. But at the same time, how many children are we going to lose this year to violence, which is absolutely senseless? Absolutely senseless. We are listening to the Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network. We're talking about the past year as we look forward into 2020 and Shelby County government. But again, Daryl, we're challenged when it comes to public safety.
And I think I want to make sure that the citizens understand really the task at hand for you all. You got to have about 40 to 50 deputies ready to be hired July 1 because of the fiscal year. You can't wait to December 31st. So the impact on your budget is going to hit in July, even though you don't get any of that tax money, so to speak, until January 1. So we're going to have to tighten the belt up a little bit, but we're going to need to do that because we need those deputies ready to hit the ground day one.
And actually, the sheriff has already started recruiting for the next class. And honestly, being a law enforcement officer, a Memphis police officer, is a great career. You can spend a life of service doing really good things. I think Floyd Bonner is a great example.
Yeah.
His father was a Memphis police officer.
Yeah.
He's now the sheriff of Shelby County. He's the first African American sheriff. Yeah. He's given 40 years to public safety.
I know him well. He's a great man.
Great guy.
And his dad's a great guy, too. Had a chance to meet him.
What a great guy.
I think he told you on the show once before. His dad actually ran for sheriff of Fayette County.
He
didn't win, but he ran
ran
for sheriff of Fayette County. So it was in his blood at some point to be sheriff, right?
Right.
You know,
but you know, a lot of this stuff, Daryl, starts at home. I was with 50 different leaders the other day, and we were talking about losing these children. And again, we will lose. Unfortunately, we will announce that we've lost some more kids to gun violence. These kids were absolutely innocent kids. One child was shot in their own living room, and a bullet came through a window. At some point, a lot of this goes back to the streets that we're on, the lack of education. We've got 25% of people in poverty, a great lack of resources. And when I'm not making excuses for anybody, but when you cannot eat, there aren't many choices on the street for a child with no parents, which we have a lot of kids with no parents. We have kids that have both mom and dad are gang members. Yeah. And really their choices are, because I've talked to gang members here in Shelby County, their choices are get a gun and rob somebody or sell drugs on the street.
Yeah. I was fortunately in, I think about 1994, Shelby County government took on housing juveniles. Well, the first juveniles, I was a mental health counselor at the Shelby County Division of Corrections back in the day, and under Jim Rout. And I can tell you this, one thing about it, Commissioner, and I want to make sure our listeners understand, there is some personal responsibility we need to take. You and I both, we have kids. I mean, God, if something happened to ours, I don't know.
Right.
But if you see something, say something.
Yep.
If somebody shot in your house, I'm just going to call it like it is, Mr. Chair. And I come out of South Memphis at Orleans and Vance. And if somebody shot in my house, it wasn't just because I was playing my music. There's something going on.
Right.
Help get your family healed and give up the information, Mr. Chair. Am I right? They need to call 528 cash. Give up the information, because you got 3 babies who are now being prepared to be buried, and there's no answers.
Nope.
We got to have answers.
We need answers, and we need help. You're listening to the Chairman's Perspective. We're on the KUDZUKIAN Network. We're going to be right back as we review the past year and look forward to the next year.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Funking up your airwaves and jamming the good information in your ear. Once again, it's Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
We are back on the Chairman's Perspective. We're here with Daryl Catron, my good friend. We're talking about the past year, as well as we're looking forward into 2020 on the Shelby County Commission, Shelby County, Tennessee. It's been an amazing year, how much stuff we've accomplished, but we've got some huge challenges ahead, Daryl.
You had some grand slams. I mean, the support with the city, with Edge, with the downtown development, that's a winner. I think we've gotten this thing settled with the fairgrounds piece. That's a winner. We're building. Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, when I'm in Nashville,
I know. God, I drove through last week.
I have to. You can't drive through with your eyes closed, but you just want to. I have not seen so many cranes, and it just. But one thing people got to realize is that it's still the state capital.
It is.
So dollars are going to flow out into that particular region, right? And I understand that, but that doesn't make me feel any better when I get to the house.
Daryl, I counted 17 cranes in one little segment of the highway, but I'll tell you this, and I love Nashville, love to visit Nashville, but let me tell you, the amount of traffic that is already there, and then if you see 17 cranes, I know people, it takes them an hour and a half to get back and forth. And, in Memphis, when we say the traffic is bad, that means you're delayed by, 10 minutes? I can go from Germantown all the way to the Shelby County Commission and be at the Mississippi River within 30 minutes?
Yeah, and literally from one end of Poplar to, you're absolutely right. And Poplar Pike, right there in 30 minutes.
Sometimes as Memphians, I think we're the worst critics of our own community. We see that a lot. We're pretty tough on ourselves, but when you have visitors come in and they talk about the traffic, they laugh. They literally laugh because we have no traffic, quite frankly.
People from Chicago, Detroit, Houston, Dallas, it's crazy.
Oh, it's crazy.
Atlanta. Got friends in Atlanta. Oh, my God. It's amazing how people even get around.
It may take you 10 minutes to get into the building to go see a Grizzlies game, but in other cities, it may take an hour and a half to get to a stadium to even get close to a garage. So I think we've got a lot of good things going on, Daryl. We had so much economic development, great opportunities that are coming online, lots of jobs. We need more qualified workers. I think Shelby County Schools as well as our area universities are working toward putting qualified students ready to hit the streets and have a job. But I think we've got, again, I know this term is overused, but I really, truly believe we've got a lot of momentum going on in Memphis and Shelby County.
But people, you say it may be overused, but the mayor said it. He said Memphis has momentum. It really does, but I think you have some of those folks who have not felt it at the bottom.
Oh, I get it.
And I think that's where they get it. I think they hadn't felt. But now, what I'm understanding with this thing with Amazon, you're talking about a $100 million facility out there. If the wages are holding at anywhere from $20 to $25 an hour, that's a game changer for Shelby County.
It's a game changer for people in Fraser, Raleigh. It's a game changer for Shelby County.
Yes. You're talking about a tax base, and God knows we need the dollars. I don't think they've asked you for any money yet either, have they?
No. If anything, we may have done some TIFs. We do so much work, I can't honestly remember. We may have done a little TIF, but I'm telling you, it's exciting. That area is Commissioner Willie Brooks's area. He's been a great champion. But so many good things going on Union Avenue. They took a piece of blighted property that was producing Union Row. I mean, it's absolutely going to be amazing. Honestly, a rock throw from the Mississippi River, and it's also going to cause another domino to fall in a positive way. Sure. We've now have people that want to really make major investments in the Pinch District. Right now, you're listening to the Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network. I'm here with Daryl. We're talking everything Shelby County, talking about a lot of really good things going on with economic development from Union Road to the Pinch District.
Oh, the Lowe's Hotel. Don't forget.
Absolutely.
Did you see the rendering of that thing?
Well, what about the new Memphis Convention Center? I've got to visit with Kevin Kane. I'm a new board member on the tourism board, and I'm telling you, we are going to have meeting planners from across the country come in to want to have a meeting in Memphis. The new convention center is long overdue, and again, it's going to be another thing that puts tourists back in our community.
That's what we need. We need those tourists. Hey, I'm telling you right now, come to Memphis. We need your hotel motel tax dollars, because I give mine up when I'm in Nashville. I give it up. I don't give it up willingly, but I have to pay it when I'm there.
Yeah, but look at what you get when you come to Memphis. You can visit the second most visited house in the country, which is Graceland. Yep. The only other house that gets more visitors is the White House.
Wow.
We've got the Mississippi River. We've got Blues on Beale Street.
You got the National Civil Rights Museum.
We've got Shelby Farms, $70 million philanthropic investment, thanks to so many great people, including the Hydes and other philanthropists. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on in Shelby County. I think I'm very blessed to lead a group of outstanding Shelby County commissioners. We're diverse in where we live and our political persuasions. But you know what? When it comes to economic development, healthcare, education, and public safety, guess what? We're all on the same page.
I've seen that.
We're all on the same page.
One thing, before we get out of here, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
A couple of things that you've got is something that I want to do before I get out of this seat as chair, or if I'm back again another year. That's great. But a couple of things that are on my agenda that I really want to push as something that's a part of what I would say is my legacy as a chair.
I've got a couple more years on the county commission. I've got probably 6 more months as chairman. I truly want to see more positive change when it comes to education in Shelby County.
Wow.
I think we've got a great relationship with the Shelby County School Board. We've got a great relationship with the new superintendent of schools. Again, we've got great collaboration with our sheriff and with our Director Rawlings at the Memphis Police Department. In terms of economic development, we got Beverly Robertson running the chamber.
She's a beast over there.
Well, Willie Gregory, our new CEO of the chamber. And in terms of healthcare, God bless Region 1. We got great hospitals here with Baptist, Methodist, and others, St. Francis.
Dr. Haushalter, man, she's on that lead.
Oh, man.
She's on it. Elisa Haushalter.
Our health department's doing a great job. So as long as we can focus on the most important reasons, which are those 4 core services, I feel like I will have done my contribution as chairman and as a commissioner. I want to conclude my term as a commissioner saying these are the things that I accomplished.
Well, I think that you're well on your way to those things. And in terms of, is there anything that the commission has that you've forwarded to, I guess, our state reps to say, hey, look, this is something that we've got to have other than this guns and the cars thing? This thing is just, it's
well, let me tell you, it may be unpopular, but I support Director Rawlings. I support the sheriff. Quite frankly, putting guns in cars without a license, without anything, was a bad decision. We've got cars being pulled over both by police officers that have AK-47s in the back seat, and you can carry those around legally, and quite frankly, no good is going to be come out of this. And so, we've got to hold our elected officials accountable, especially at the state. These things sound good on the surface, but guess what? They hurt people.
What they call them, unintended consequences.
That's exactly right.
Unintended consequences. Well, Mr. Chair, hey, you had your perspective today.
Thank you. Daryl, thank you for being here. I appreciate all the work you do. And I'm glad to have you in front of the microphone for a change.
Well, I appreciate it. I tell you what, we'll be right back and let you wrap this thing up there, Mr. Chair, okay?
Very good.
Right here on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Thank you.
20 with Tanya, presented by the Commercial Appeal.
20 minutes of the challenges and opportunities, we face in Memphis, but also a lot of the things nationally that concern me and that should concern other people as well.
20 with Tanya.
On the KUDZUKIAN Network.
KUDZUKIAN! We are back on the Chairman's Perspective. We're about to wrap it up. I want to really thank my good friend Daryl Catron for being here today from the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, look, sitting in with you here today was eye-opening to me because I really wanted our listeners to figure out and know for themselves that what you all are doing downtown is amazing. It's amazing
really
work. And they don't see the 8 and 9 hours, and they don't see the calls that you get when you go home. Right?
Well, I tell you, it's a pleasure to serve with the Shelby County Board of Commissioners and our mayor, and as well as the new city council. I'm looking forward to working with them and Mayor Strickland in the months ahead. Again, this has been a great show. We talked about the past year. We're looking bright into 2020.
Yeah.
We've got some challenges ahead in Shelby County, but guess what? We got a lot of opportunities, Daryl, and we're going to have a great 2020 in Shelby County. A lot of things to look forward to. We'll be back on this show again, and I will encourage people to please tune in to the KUDZUKIAN Network and listen to the Chairman's Perspective as we look forward into 2020.
And you know what, Mr. Chairman? I think a lot of people will be better for it.
Oh, I hope so. And see you next time.
The Chairman's Perspective Podcast. Executive producer, Shelby County Commission's Chairman, Mark Billingsley. Directed, produced, recorded, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN.